Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be drawing our seed germination. So last week we planted bean seeds that were pre-soaked in some baggies or in some clear tubes so we could actually see through them so we could see the germination process. So today we may plant those seeds in actual soil if we get time so we can see the rest of the germination process. Starting to draw our picture, I'm creating a border, and my video is sped up so you don't have to just watch me draw. But if you will, draw a little border around your main picture. You can use any colors or any kind of border that you like. And then find about the halfway spot of the page, and that will be where the earth meets the sky. And then we'll plant our little bean seed down below in the soil. Okay, and I use just sketching at first. I use the side of my pencils, and then I'm going back in with a little darker lines later. So I'm not drawing hard lines at first, but then I'm going back over it. So if you're using a pencil, I would sketch it first, and that way you can erase, or just draw very lightly with your colored pencils. Very, very lightly, because your roots are going to be not real thick right at first. Alright, so let's follow the journey from the seed to the sprout. So imagine a tiny seed sleeping deep in the earth through the dry months, which would be our winter here where we live in the northern hemisphere. The soil forms a snug blanket around the baby seed, holding it safely in the darkness until it's ready to grow, just like a baby that grows inside the darkness of its mother in her body. And what will awaken the tiny seed? What does it need to make it grow? The rains, the first rains. Soaking rains make the soil moist, bringing life to the seed. The soil surrounds the seed with water, and the tiny little thirsty seed begins to suck it up into itself, just like a baby sucking milk from its mother. At the same time, the sun's rays begin to stroke the earth with its warmth and light at the beginning of the growing season, which for us is the spring, and the little seed feels the warmth and begins to stir. You can see a tiny dot on the side of a bean or pea seed, and this is a tiny opening, like a mouth, where the seed absorbs the nourishment from the soil. It begins to swell up and grow. The little seed is like a tiny house. As the seed grows, the little seed coat around it cracks open like a small door. And what will come out of the little door? First, a little root appears. It is so small we call it a rootlet. This tiny white rootlet curls outwards, twisting and turning in a spiral movement as it grows downwards, deeper into the darkness of the soil. Very soon, a little plant comes out. It has 2 seed leaves, which are full of food for the new little plant to use. These seed leaves are like 2 storage rooms of the little house. The little shoot turns and grows in the other direction compared to the roots, upward toward the light and the warmth of the sun. At some point, the little shoot will reach the surface of the earth, and although it is so small and so soft, it wriggles round in a spiral movement until it pushes through the soil and suddenly bursts out into the beautiful sunshine. It's like a small child wriggling and rolling until at a certain moment it stands upright. The root continues to dive down, slowly growing stronger as it explores the soil of the earth around it like a little corkscrew. What do the roots do? Like fingers, they grasp everything, holding on tightly to soil, stones, rocks, whatever they can. The tiny plant wants to be securely anchored in the earth and supports it. They support it as it grows upward. The little root grows bigger and sends out more and more little roots in every direction, and all these little roots are tiny root hairs. What are the roots for? Food and water. The soil is full of nourishment, like a mother feeding its child. The little plant needs nourishment from earth. The soil contains compost, or organic matter, and mineral salts, and the root hairs are able to suck up water, organic matter, and the mineral salts from the earth. All this becomes sap, which this nourishes the whole plant. In the firm, dark earth, the roots become hardened and strong. Plants with short roots, like vegetables, can easily be pulled out of the earth, but it's very difficult to pull a plant out of the earth which has been growing for some time. One can be amazed at how many root and root hairs are growing under the soil on one plant. At the end of each root is a root cap, which makes it possible for the root to dig into the soil. The root cap is like a metal spade that has to be hard enough to break its way into the soil. The root pushes the root cap from behind, just like the spade's handle gives force to the blade of the spade. But there is a difference. The root spirals its way into the soil, giving it enormous strength to break through the hardest parts of the earth. Now to the stem. As the shoot grows, the seed coat falls away, and the little seed leaves are getting smaller and smaller as they feed the tiny plant, which grows bigger and bigger. The shoot gently spirals upward and becomes the stem of the little plant. The stem is much softer than the roots that live in the hard, dark earth, for it lives in the elements of water and air. So we can see how stems are flexible, swaying in the breezes around the plant. But the stem will grow fatter and stronger each year, if it's that kind of plant, like a tree, as the plant gets bigger and needs more support. It has the task of holding the plant upright so that it does not fall over when the wind blows. What part of the human being supports us to stand upright? Our trunk and the strong but subtle spine inside of us. The stem is also like a pathway from the roots to the leaves. Inside the stem, the plant forms hundreds of tiny tubes that carry the liquids from the roots to the leaves and all over the plant. The stem is kept very busy transporting water and food to the whole plant. In the center of the stem is the hardest part, which holds the plant upright. We call this part the core of the stem, and we can see, like our bones, how this part is. Around the core are the many tiny tubes, which are very busy transporting sap all the time. And from the roots to the leaves, and from the leaves to where foodstuff is stored or needed. And then there is the outer skin of the stem, which protects the stem from getting hurt in trees. This skin gets really hard, and we call it bark. The stem first grows 2 tiny leaves, but soon branches out with more and more branches and leaves as it grows into a proper plant. Every plant creates its own shape of leaf, and so leaves have many different shapes. They may be broad or narrow, pointed or rounded in shape, and we can notice that the leaves are flowing in shape, some parts, like the leaf blade, expanding upwards to the sunlight, and other parts contracting inward to form the strong, narrow stalk or the pointed end of the leaf. In fact, all parts of the plant are contracting or expanding, sometimes both at the same time. How can this be? Leaves feel different too. Some are hard, others are soft, hairy, or waxy, etc. But all leaves have a waterproof cover, like a roof, as one can see when rain water runs off of a leaf. It runs down the ridges and drops down to give moisture to the thirsty roots. All leaves reach out to the fresh air and warmth of the sun. Underneath the leaves are tiny openings called stomata that allow plants to breathe. So leaves are like little lungs that breathe in the air for the plant. The breathing process of the plant supports the life of animals and human beings in an amazing way. Human beings and animals breathe in oxygen from the air in order to stay alive, and then breathe out carbon dioxide as waste air. Plants, on the other hand, breathe in carbon dioxide and breathe out oxygen. So they are constantly supplying us with fresh, cool air filled with moisture. When we walk in a forest, we feel cool, and we think it is because of the shade of the trees. It is also because of the fresh, moist air breathed out by the trees. So human beings are more dependent on and connected to the plants than we realize. So I hope that you continue to decorate your page how you like it. Add as many details as you want, and I look forward to seeing your creation later. See you next lesson. Ta-ta.